Good morning, everyone. So glad you're here and all masked up and sanitized and spacing yourself, and you're all really good people. So we're excited that you're here. We're excited because our vision, we inspire and empower people to live spiritually fulfilling lives, and we know this service this morning is going to help with that in your life. So we have an opening song on CD, and you can't sing it here, but you at home, just sing your heart out.
In my pain, there inside my weakness is the seed of something greater in me, and the shame of not choosing higher, and all the disappointing moments fade into God. No mistakes have been made in God. All the ways that we seem to fail in God, all fades into God. No choice, a prisoner of anguish in a jail of I'm so lonely, a jail of all is lost, but the stars are shining to remind us the seed will need the darkness to change into new life, and no mistakes have been made in God. All the ways that we seem to fail
And now, in this unusual set of company, please greet your neighbor by namaste, wave, smile. Glad you're all here. We have a nice turnout this morning. I would like to thank all the team members that came early to make all this happen. Sue and Charlie, of course, and Damien and Dave, and Ray's here to help greet, and Tony and Doug Herber. And it's just a really great group of people to work with during these times. If you have any electronic device, we would appreciate it if you would put it on silent mode. Thank you very much. And if you're new with us today, there are friendship packets on the back wall called welcome packets, and they're also in the foyer. And so I have a couple of invitations for you. Afterwards, I have available the Essence class, the Essence of Science of Mind class. Now, it's kind of challenging to do it, of course, with masks and everything. So if you're here and you would like one of the booklets that we would review, they're on the table at the exits, at the 2 exits that we have. So just pick one up, and then at another time you can ask me questions or we can discuss it further. Shari and Wyndham is starting some new watercolor classes with masks and social distancing on Monday, starting July 13th, 9:30 to noon, or Wednesdays, starting July 15th, 10 to 12:30, or Wednesdays, 2 to 4:30, maximum 4 students, minimum 4 students, maximum 10 students in the social hall. It's a really easy place to social distance. I'll be starting the Essence of Essential Ernest Holmes, and that will be Thursdays beginning July 30th, 12:30 to 3 in the social hall also. So that's about what's happening. Not a whole lot, but we're getting kind of back to normal a little bit here and there every week. All right, we would like to have Damien do a reading, and then we'll invite the bell with 2 minutes of silence. And then I will do a spiritual mind treatment, our form of affirmative prayer, and then Reverend Sue and her beautiful message this morning. Damien.
Good morning. From the book Creative Ideas by Ernest Holmes. He writes, I discover a new freedom. By far, the larger part of our thinking processes are automatic, casting, as it were, the images of their acceptance into the universal mind, which reacts upon them. And thus it is that fear can bring about the condition feared, while faith can reverse it. In spiritual mind treatment, affirmation and denial are for the purpose of erasing wrong thought patterns and establishing correct ones. Affirmation can either instantly or gradually establish an inward recognition which becomes permanent. The mind principle is like a mirror, reflecting the conscious declarations of the good we desire. Join with me in this blessing of these words. Today, I affirm the action of God in my life, and I deny that there is any presence or power of real evil in the universe. I affirm the presence of love and repudiate every belief that hate has any power. I affirm that peace exists in my experience and deny confusion. I affirm joy and declare that sadness has no place in my consciousness. I affirm that God is all over, in all, and through all. There is nothing out of the past that can limit me. And there is nothing in me that can limit my future. I experience a new freedom and joy in living.
Know with me that there is only one spiritual creation that embodies the whole universe. And oneness is our first principle, that you and I are the creations of the one. This is so important to know, that as brothers and sisters to each other and to everyone in the world, all of humanity, it's important to love, to be kind, to be generous. It's important in these times to honor not our differences, well, honor our differences, but also honor our humanity. That in our genome, that we're 99.9% the same. And so today that feels like freedom to me. And freedom also encourages us to be free from fear. Free from any fear that would turn us against each other or anything or anything. As Ernest Holmes said, give me 100 people who believe something positive, who believe in these principles, and we can change the world. And so oneness and freedom and love are part of those principles. And today I embrace it for myself, and I invite you to also embrace it with everyone you're with today, everyone you talk with today, people you may talk to on the phone. Just let those 3 words come up in your consciousness this whole day. So I give great thanks for being here to hear the message today, and also know this month of July is freedom. And we add love and peace to that. And we let it flow through the air. Like the butterflies I observed this morning, just let it flow through the air and light on everyone you know and love. Thank you, Spirit. And so it is.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning. Nice to see you. I have to keep remembering that we get to see people again and really look at you. And yes, and to say good morning to all the people in their homes or wherever you are joining us today. This idea of being free, I want to approach it from the Tao principle of acceptance. And so I'm going to lead us on a little journey with that idea. And I appreciate the song that was Ricky Byers that you listened to. And all things do fade into God, into the divine. All things fade. There are no mistakes. And when we really rest our heart into the bosom of that message, that song of such compassion, we realize, why are we harboring so much in the heart space of our body? Can we break through the walls that we have built upon ourselves to recognize that divine pure love is ever longing to flow through us? I so much value what has been going on in our world in every way. I bow to it. I bow deeply to it because it is waking us up to a deeper message that when we're too busy, we miss it. And at first, we were very keen on, look at the air is clear. Look at the waterways in Venice, they're clear. Look at the space picture of the earth, how beautiful, you can see again. And there was that awe and that awakening. And then we started to find our way with that. There was also separation from family, separation from friends, separation from spiritual community. But what I am witnessing now is, as the world, if we're left to just listening to the talking heads of our world, we can forget our divine way. We can start to let that take the back seat and think that it's still driving us. But I believe more than ever that sacred community, whether you're listening at home, whether you're here in person, this is what we value so much. It was taken away for a little while in a certain form, but now we're slowly, carefully bridging it back for the safety of all. But we need this to remember that all things fade into the one. And as we recognize the Tao way, that this idea of acceptance is so richly valued that we want to offer our heart to that scripture. So I'm going to share a story, because when we accept something, when we deeply accept just what is, then we move forward free. That's the path to freedom. So what I want to share is this beautiful story from Radical Joy for Hard Times. And the story, acceptance does not mean surrender. And so oftentimes when we hear certain words, we categorize it. It was what we were influenced with. An idea of acceptance means I have to put up with. So just kind of, what would it be to accept? To accept on a spiritual level, what would that mean for me? And so kind of in your own indoctrination of words, of concepts, see how even there maybe you've been bound, and free yourself up. So acceptance does not mean surrender. So here's the story. As soon as Susumu looked over the bow of his fishing boat, Sunflower, on the afternoon of March 11th, 2011, he saw the giant wave heaving towards the coast of Japan. And he knew it was bringing catastrophe. He knew what he had to do. Turning straight into the wave, he offered a silent goodbye to all the fishermen in all the boats bobbing in the water, and an apology for not being able to save them. He knew what to do in that moment. I talked to my boat and said, "You've been with me for 42 years. If we live or die, then we'll be together." Then I pushed on, full throttle. The wave crashed over him. For some unimaginable time, the boat was pitched and plunged in an onslaught of sea, unlike any Susumu had ever navigated. When the horizon emerged at last, he knew he had survived. 4 or 5 more waves pounded upon him, but none was as big as the first. And finally, it was over, and he dared to look back to shore. He was sure that no one could possibly have survived that tsunami, a tsunami that big. For hours he sat in his boat as it bounced up and down on the waves of a more familiar size, making his way back to land only when the night had finally engulfed the sea. The coast was unrecognizable. Thousands of people were missing. Thousands were presumed dead. For weeks afterwards, he put Sunflower to work, ferrying medicine, supplies, and never charged for his services. Outrageous, masterful, courageous, charitable. His act was all the makings of a hero's tale. But here it is, in that first moment of awareness of what he was facing. So remember for yourself, personalize the story, the first moment of an awareness of what you are facing. The fisherman had 2 choices: retreat and die, or charge ahead and take a chance. He took the risk and he lived. But although he claimed in interviews afterwards, when the media was clamoring to tell his story, he knew, if I didn't save my boat, my island would be isolated and in trouble. And at that moment, he saw that wave surging toward him. I'd wager he wasn't thinking about saving his island. He was thinking about his own survival. Navigating straight into the maw of one of the biggest tsunamis ever on record was purely an existential act. The only thing that could be done in the moment beyond sitting still, turning his life and his will over to mere hope, it is a human gesture, this, to thrust through. It is this, to thrust through, given in order to get to the other side, though it is possible to forget that such a gesture is available when circumstances are so crushing, it seems that no response is left at all. But there's something about the timing of this act. Susumu did not set out instantly into the tsunami. First, through the clap of awareness, and it only lasted an instant, he accepted what was happening. He assessed the approaching wave, recognized it. This is a destroyer. Only then was he able to refute it. Only then. And after the quiet yes came that defiant no. No, he would not succumb to this. He would throttle into the thick of it. He had no witness to praise him, no guarantee that his unthinkable act would offer an escape, not even a hope that his risk might later enable him to help others. Powerful story. Powerful story to me for, number one, for a lifetime since I was just a child. I've had tidal wave fear dreams. Oh. I can't even, when the movies come out, Big Wave, I'm thinking, oh, don't even look at it. I want to run out of a theater that has big waves, and when somebody goes, oh, look at that guy, shoot the tube, I'm like, oh, horrifying to me. Time and time again, I have those dreams. The wave is coming. The wave is coming, and I'm in the water, or I'm in the hotel watching the wave ready to overcome, and I can feel the fear in my throat. And it's those dreams where you call out, but you can't, no sound comes out, but a funny little squeak. But this power, and the truth has always been, turn towards your fears. Go right into the center of it. Dive in. I know that from my attempts at body surfing when I was a teenager. When those big waves came, I'd think, okay, it's peaking. I can either ride it or it'll take me over. It's time to turn and ride the wave back into shore. If I doubted that, but it is a moment of awareness. If I didn't watch that moment, then the wave would crash and tumble and take me down to the sand, and I wouldn't know which way was up, and I would be fighting for my life to get to the top. And so I think that kind of stimulated some of my dreams, but that is that moment of acceptance of this powerful yes. And so I'm going to come back to the story because there is a yes, a no, and a yes on this equation of truth. So when we're looking at this idea of acceptance, Goldsmith says these words, humanly, we've been taught to judge, criticize, condemn anybody, anytime, anywhere, for anything, if it doesn't fit with our sense of what is right and wrong. But in this work, in this spiritual arena, in this delving into the deep truth of what is, we have to change our entire attitude so that we are never guilty of judging, criticizing, or condemning a person, but are always, always recognizing that the source of whatever is wrong is in the carnal mind, and it has no power, has no power. We take a breath with that. We turn and face the wave. It has no power. Susumi took that moment to bless his fellow fishermen, to bless and honor his boat, his life. In that moment, he had just a moment. And then the courage welled up in him. That divine power welled up in him, and a greater good unfolded from that moment. So this being free through acceptance, separating out our thoughts of judgment, removing these burdens of guilt, freeing them up, frees us, and we get to be free. Acceptance. We want to be free. We want to quit fighting the talking heads, the political unrest. We're done with that. We're done with the confusion. We're done with all of it. We want health. We want vitality. We want love. That's our claim. That is our destiny. And those are the things that we are grateful for. And more than ever, this virus, this COVID experience has taught us that love prevails here. That's what we long for. to be back in that embrace, being free through acceptance. We separate out these thoughts. We have built these mental walls. In isolation, we've built mental walls, not on purpose, but it's what we've tuned into, and it's what we've listened to. But deeper, deeper, deeper is that soul song that there's only one. And it is ours to see through all of this. Now, another messenger in my world is Gandhi. Gandhi, I turned to his principles during all of this racial confusion and disappointment and sadness and pain, and I look through what is my part here, where am I to grow, what am I not seeing and doing to make this a better world? As I accept the horror of what has been, as at a level of just let me see that. Let me see that. Let my heart hold that. I take it in. I don't turn away. I breathe it in and I see. And then Gandhi had the same story. He had the same story when he was driving, when he was riding as the passenger in the cabin in the train, and he was literally humiliated and thrown off the train. That was the beginning of his awakening. And yes, it was oppressive and it was shameful, it was horrible, but he took it and he started to build his tools of understanding. Where did he get those from? The Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, the Quran. He studied spiritual texts to say, where is my truth here? And he came up with the principle that threads all the way through the Hindu teachings: ahimsa, nonviolence, nonviolence. Now that's a huge word, because it's nonviolence to the self. All fades into God. You let it all fade into the divine. All of the voices that torment you of not being good enough, smart enough, wise enough, strong enough, willing enough, you didn't speak up there, all of that fades into God. As you practice the principles, the true principle of ahimsa, this idea, he reminds us, is one of the greater truths to build all other truth upon. God is truth. The way truth lies through ahimsa, nonviolence, through word and deed. This was the thread through the Buddhist, through the Hindu, through the Jain traditions: respect for all living things and avoidance of violence in all ways towards others, a oneness. Gandhi's wisdom pours through this man. And do you know, I had just discovered this recently, he wrote a letter to Hitler. Did you, some of you might have, if you've studied Gandhi, might have seen that. Here's this letter. And I remember when I first read it, I went, he writes it, "Dear friend, friends have been urging me to write to you for the sake of humanity, but I have resisted their request because of the feeling that any letter from me would be an impertinence. But something tells me that I must not calculate that, and that I must make my appeal for whatever it may be worth. Surrender, acceptance, action. It is quite clear that you are today the one person in the world." This was before the war started. "It is quite clear that you are today the one person in the world who can prevent a war which may reduce humanity to the savage state. Must you pay that price for an object, however worthy it may appear to you to be? Will you listen to the appeal of one who has deliberately shunned the method of war, not without considerable success? Anyway, I anticipate your forgiveness if I have erred in writing you. I remain a friend." Mahatma Gandhi. The letter never got delivered. What would the world be? It makes me emotional. What would the world be if in an awakened moment for Hitler, this letter from Mahatma Gandhi landed in his hands, in his eyes, his heart? The British chose to pull the letter from being seen. But it's in history. And I applaud him. I applaud Mary when she writes, she tells me, I wrote a letter to the editor. I wrote a letter to the governor. Writing, expressing oneness and truth. Once we see that we're in a space of acceptance, oneness and truth. Gandhi says these other great gentleness, self-sacrifice, and generosity are the exclusive possession of no one race or religion. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service to the other. It is better to pray. In prayer, it is better to have a heart without words than words without a heart. Glory lies in the attempt to reach one's goals and not in reaching it. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Here's one that you all know. You must be the change you want to see in the world. The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. The greatest of a nation can be judged by the way its animals are treated. Mahatma Gandhi, when asked what he thought about Western civilization, I think that would be a good idea. Ahimsa. Gentle, powerful courage based on a deep level of accepting what is and then finding himself, I'm in a space to be free. So the verse from the Tao, the path of acceptance, accepting what is, we find it to be perfect. To find peace with what is a way to be free from the anxiety that wells up when we fight what's going on, when we wrestle what's going on, when we continue to bash our heads that nobody's listening and I'm right on this. No, those are the mental walls. This truth that Gandhi reminds us of lies in nonviolence, lies in those places of truth. His last words and advice to his people through all of the things that he went through in his life experience, be true. Have you been? Be true. Those are just 2 words, and they make you pause. Be true. Nishla Devi is a master yoga teacher that I studied a lot of her yoga chakra work from, and she said, if we continually choose a path of analysis or observation over love and compassion and oneness, before long that oneness in the heart becomes shrouded by a discriminating mind. Oneness then takes a step back into the shadows. But we're asking ourselves in the spiritual journey to allow our hearts to lead the way. And it takes a lot of courage to allow the heart to lead the way, to encourage balance and harmony back into our world. So I'm going to refer back to yes and no, because he speaks very powerfully here in this. How do you ride the wave in these hard times? This is his template. You don't try to flee it. You head right into the thick of it. take a breath. Whatever you're facing in your world, in your life experience, don't flee. You're going to head right into the thick of it. As soon as it rushes over you, ride it. You know it's in charge, but you neither fight it nor capitulate to it. You move with it in the way you calculate it is likeliest to ensure your survival. After the onslaught of the crisis is over, you take as much time as you need to get your bearings. Making your way back to the familiar shore, you reach out to help others. That moment, he says, without the yes of acceptance, an unremitting no can have consequences that change society and policies forever. So listen to that divine moment. We all have it. It's a clarity, a flash of truth. And then we ride the waves. We find our way back into our true nature. The path of acceptance. Accepting what is, a place to find our way to be. Awakening, I close with a powerful prayer of Change Me Prayers by Tosha Silver. I invite you to just settle into your own space for this. And in my sharing here, as we blend prayer, meditation, our time together comes to a close, I have an urge, a longing, that we spend a few quiet moments in community, listening to Karen Drecker's song that we will be playing right after my prayer. So stay in that sweet space of love, of oneness. And this is our moment to grieve the loss of life that we have witnessed across this planet. All of those lives, all of those people that didn't get to say goodbye, to embrace, to hug, all of the healthcare workers, the teachers, the police officers, the fire workers, the responders, the trash people, all of the people driving and helping people get here and there, being in service in this moment of crisis upon our whole planet. Let us take a moment to remember, through her sweet message, allow the portals of your heart, what we've been holding back in the horror of all that is, to take a moment to let a tear drop, to send a blessing that those lives were not lost without us recognizing the power of oneness that we feel for all that's going on. So join with me in this prayer of awakening to your inner divinity. Oh, divine beloveds, my only wish is let me see myself as you see me. Oh, my dearly beloved, I wish only your wishes for me. Let me see myself as you see me. May I know my own divinity in every moment, and may our desires be one. Grant me peace and happiness and contentment, trusting that whatever is meant to happen will always happen. May I be the vehicle for all you wish to occur. Change me, divine beloved one, into the one who can easily offer you even the deepest desire, knowing you already have the perfect plan. You know the longings of our hearts. You know the longing of our hearts here. May we each sense when to wait, when to act, and always follow the divine lead. May we always, always let what wants to go, go. What wants to come, come. I am yours. We are yours. You are mine. You are ours. We are one. we are one. And that's what it means to just be. So now sit in your heart. It welcomes you home as we hear this beautiful song, and know that we are blessed this day in love.
A candle in your memory, though I don't know who you are. And when I think about your family, I will wish upon a star. And I pray that they'll find peace someday. I pray they'll make it through. I'll light a candle in your memory to honor you. I'll light a candle for America. May we feel peace inside. We'll hold each other closer and wipe the tears we've cried. And I pray we'll bond together, and I pray that we'll pull through. I'll light a candle for America, for me and for you. And we will light the world with our love. I know that we will light the world with our love, with our love. I'll light a candle for humanity, for the good that's yet to come, as we overlook our differences and join now as one. And I pray we'll come out stronger in this world I'm dreaming of. I'll light a candle for humanity, to be a world living in love. And we will light the world with our love. Know that we can. We will light the world with our love. Every day and every way we will light. We will light the world with our love. I know that we can. I know that we will light. We will light the world with our love. I'll light a candle for humanity, for all the good that's yet to come, as we overlook our differences and join now as one. And I pray we'll come out stronger in this world I'm dreaming of. I'll light a candle for humanity, to be a world that's living in love. I'll
that's what I'll do for dinner tonight. And I have not heard that song. That was awesome. Just beautiful. Well, this is typically the time for our offertory, and the baskets are at each exit, and your donations, your contributions are so important. And we are so, so grateful for the support this center has had through all these months. But I'd like to invite you to say after me this offertory affirmation. Gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance. For I know as I give, I do receive. You know, it's such a treat to be in the office during the week. We'll hear a knock on the door and go to open it, and somebody will slip in a check, or somebody will call and say, here's my credit card number, put me down for so much. And then we get the mail out of the mailbox, and it's like, oh my gosh, all these wonderful people. It really fills our heart with incredible gratitude, knowing how the center, our center, your center as a whole is supported. So I'm going to bless this offering, knowing it's in the ether right now. It's coming towards us in so many ways. That the gratitude in the heart of each person is so deep and so profound. It is changing the hearts of many through your gratitude and appreciation, not only of the center, but this philosophy. And for all of this being here for you, anytime you wish assistance, you wish health, you wish to just say, you know, life is good, or put me on the prayer list. That's what this center is for. And so I bless the offering from each one of you, knowing it is a gift of gratitude, a gift of love, a gift of support. And for that, we are all so grateful, and so it is. And so we now have a closing song, after which I invite you to pick up some wildflower seeds, a little booklet on what religious science is all about, and just say namaste and wave to everyone as they leave. Thank you so much for being part of this service.